Welcome back, everybody. It's time for another Mental Health Monday, and today we talk about National Minority Mental Health Awareness Month, and we have Dr. Christine Caulfield, CEO of LSF Health Systems, back on the show, as always. Thank you very much for joining us today. It is always a pleasure. No, the pleasure is all mine, I assure you. So, you know, in a real sense, mental health challenges, can affect everybody, right? We talk about that pretty regularly here. But tell me why such challenges are often more exacerbated in minorities.
Well, there often is a stigma amongst minorities of reaching out for mental health help.
Looked at as like a weakness, maybe?
Exactly.
Gotcha.
There's also a lack of culturally competent therapists to help those that are in minority groups. So that poses a challenge and a hesitancy to reach out.
Sure.
And racism. Racism really exacerbates, escalates mental health challenges, and the fear of discrimination when one seeks help also plays a part in this equation.
So, what are some other common barriers that prevent minorities from seeking mental health services, and how do we address those barriers?
Yes, well, oftentimes economic hardship, they can't afford their co-payment, for example, or they don't have insurance at all.
Right.
Or they can't find a therapist that they can relate to, a culturally competent therapist that knows what issues they face. Exactly,
right.
Exactly.
So how do personal safety concerns, particularly interactions with law enforcement, impact the mental health of people of color?
Well, either perceived or real discrimination and disparate treatment of our minorities really exacerbates mental health challenges for our minorities when they encounter law enforcement. Oftentimes they feel very distrustful of the system, they feel panicky, they increase in depressive symptoms, anxiety symptoms.
Right. I feel like the system doesn't work for them.
Exactly, and it really does impact their view of the world and of their trust.
Absolutely. So how does access to education, particularly the quality of schools attended, influence mental health of minority youth?
It really does impact mental health. Typically our minority populations unfortunately attend poorly resourced schools. They don't have the same access to quality education as a result, and it can impact their academic performance as well as their social and emotional development.
Absolutely.
And we find a lot of these kids have a lot of depression, anxiety, and behavioral health challenges as a result.
Yeah, because they don't have the infrastructure, right?
Exactly.
So how can someone, particularly a minority, seek mental health that may specifically help them?
Yes. Well, here at LSF Health Systems, we're very cognizant of these issues. And so we know who in our community and who has the resources, the culturally competent resources to help our minority populations. So what you can do is access our Access to Care line. Call us, 1-877-229-9098. and identify yourself and what your needs are, and we can connect you in our community for those culturally competent therapists and services that can help.
Absolutely, because everybody deserves help. Everybody.
Yes, indeed.
Everybody's life is important. Doctor, thank you so
it.
very much for coming on the show again. I really do appreciate it. It is always my pleasure to have you here. Guys, stick around. We'll be right back after the